the suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
One of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
I got weed pots.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the largest episode we have every year. And by every year, I mean in the last 13 months. It's the beginning of our March Madness bracket. Woo!
It's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, there we go. That was the Dickie V inside you, wasn't it? Sorry for everybody in their earphones, but we're excited and we don't really give a shit. We've got a loaded episode with two of our committee members of the commission, as we've been calling them. And we're going to dive deep into the bracket that you can now see available on our social media. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors of the March Madness bracket, our friends over at Mr. B's Liquor. 3 locations across the metro, the Ballpark, the Stanley, the Golden Triangle. There's a spot near you. They've got a wide array of not only high-end alcohols like your bourbons that you may be looking for in the world, but a great selection of natural wine and fun, approachable beers as well. Also, shout out to our friends over at Callie's Cannabis. Y'all know that tradition. Great cannabis, 3 locations. Our friends over at Bar Green Ellingson. I said it once, I've said it a million times. If you're opening a restaurant and you're working with somebody else besides Bar Green Ellingson to fill your kitchen and get all of your equipment, well, then I imagine you'll be having some headaches in the coming months because you are doing yourself a disservice. So check them out. And, of course, our friends over at Mile High Life, where we're able to blog and report freely on all the fun things going on in town. They will be a beacon for our media credentialing, I guess, our media process throughout this month. And our friend Jeff Fearberg and Sora Digital. If you are a restaurateur and you're looking to showcase your restaurant just as we showcase it, or maybe with better photography or proper skills, Sora Digital is the team for you, so check them out. All right, Chris, how do you want to dive into this? Should we start with our 1 seeds? Do we want to talk about holy shit, someone got snubbed? Or should we talk about the hate messages we're soon to get? What do you want to start with?
I mean, it's fucking wild. You can't, it's like a snake. You don't know where it begins or ends. Like, it's going to be.
That's called the human centipede, Chris.
That's what it is. Little misspeak there. I mean, first
of all.
What do you think? Shout out to Annette for obviously making it back on. Our last year's winners. There's a couple surprises this year. I loved how we got kind of a ranking system down. We brought in others to kind of, add more knowledge and add places we've never been to or maybe not have thought of. So I want to reiterate, like, if there were places that I didn't need, I didn't put them on there.
Yeah,
like
sure.
These are all places I've been to, all of my kind of initial ballot votes. So a couple of ones I'm surprised of. Like, I don't know much about Not Yo Mama's Cupcakes.
Yeah, they do wonderful work here in the community, more in the pop-up scene. So we saw them come through the pop-up truck region because they had more than one vote. So they had a lot of points that were aggregated through the system. They have a delightful setup. They've done a bunch of the open-air markets through the nice weather, as well as, collabs with folks like Yuan Wonton and other restaurants. So they're fairly notable in the sweets and stoner snacking, as well as those that are doing pop-ups. But at the same time, they've got a really a big gauntlet, because when you come in from the bottom side, it's similar to looking at, obviously there's 68 restaurants and none of them suck. They're all great, but some of them are going to end up running into a buzzsaw of, social media and epic, just classic media and dank food proportions. So like if you bump into a La Diabla who was just published in Bon Appetit, that's a tough one, but at the same time, it's not just about, the food and the buzz. It's, the community you've built within your following, because 1,000 votes will definitely get you near 51% of a vote. If you have 1,000 followers, then you just got to wrangle the herd.
Yeah, I mean, like, the whole point
But
of
dank
this...
ass cupcakes.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no doubt in my mind that every restaurant on here serves good food. But that's only, like, part of the battle. I mean, the main thing is, like, yeah, getting people involved. Get your fucking staff involved.
That's
if you're
key.
a restaurant or if you're a food
But
truck.
they take pride in it because they want to win it, and there's a buku of awards and gifts for the staff at front of house and back house. They're going to be able to shower themselves in champagne and kush.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, it looks like, I mean, just looking at the bracket, not to give away any spoilers.
Well,
but
no, everybody can see it now. As you're listening to
that's
this,
true.
it's on our social media. So
I always forget about the time lapse there. But like, I mean, there's some restaurants or pop-ups, what have you, that are up against some like really well-established places. So that's where like your community, your fan base comes into play. And you might see some upsets.
I think we're definitely going to see some upsets. You know, companies that maybe aren't, you know, because oftentimes if you think best restaurant, you're going to think of like some high end where you want to go for your birthday. En contraire, you know, if you recall last year, Juan Wonton made a fucking run, as did Kike's Tacos. But what we did this year was we mixed them all up so that like if you have that community that you've built up, maybe it's not just your restaurant, but your, you know, friends from your commissary kitchen maybe have 30 or 40,000 followers and they have your back in your matchup. You know, it's all about that community you've built along the way. And so I think that us not having each subset or, you know, construct devour their own, you know, like all the barbecue was eating up all the barbecue.
Right.
Now they can go out there and kind of team attack it. So it's going to be, I think we're going to see a lot more upsets this year. But like you were saying, some of these restaurants I haven't been to either. And that's the best part about it. And the best part of the committee is because how jaded would it be if it was just our best ones? Now it's ours and 5 of our fucking friends, which is badass.
Yeah, and not just 5 of our friends, 5 people who are knowledgeable about food and who get out there and do the work. So,
and we're going to have some of them join us throughout the month to talk about the results, including the results of the 64. You'll have Jeremy Harlan and Alex Sagiamo join us this afternoon this morning to talk about the initial 64. And we'll get Denise and Morgan and Nam on as well next week to talk about what they expect from the Sweet 16. You know, we're going to mix it all up. It's going to be a wild ride over the next 4 weeks.
Okay, so where should we dive in?
Let's start with cannabis. It's always been our go-to. We love it dearly. It creates the biggest buzz. So let's talk food from the Cali's cannabis region. Chris, what do you see? Obviously, the defending champion is there, but what do you see standing out as maybe somebody that can make some noise, maybe make a run at the king and queen?
I see Point Easy getting through a couple rounds at least.
Okay,
I think that's, and I also got to say I think King of Wings and Snipe Burger might be a dark horse.
I agree with that one. King of Wings and Snipe Burger, they've built themselves a pretty strong following coming out of the food truck pop-up region, but also I think they qualified through the Stoner Eats region, so they were a double-edged sword. But they've wet or greased the tracks, and so they're now moving quite nicely along. And they're about to restart their chicken wings at the end of this month, March 23rd, I think. So they could make some heyday if they can make it that long. But I think you're overlooking somebody like a Softa or a Get Right. The winner that comes out of that feels like the winner of the UCLA George Mason because you're going to pick up some momentum if you win that matchup, because it's a bruiser of a pop-up great bakery and easily one of the top Mediterranean restaurants in the community as well. So depending on, how crazy Chef Matt gets against Chef Alon, it could go either way, but I see that being one of our dark horses that could maybe contend not only with La Diabla, but with Annette as well.
I mean, you're right. Like Softa, if Alon reaches out his constituency in New Orleans, he can get some momentum back there.
You're exactly right, Chris. And I think that's going to be key is, if you have other communities, that's how Caroline and Annette weaponized the Northeast last year and their friends from the food scene. You're going to see a lot of that this year. I think everyone saw that the recipe to succeed is not just here, present in the moment in your community, but also how far does your reach extend? Have you really wowed some folks in other communities and maybe folks with a little bit of clout? So that's my thought. My next question is, Chris, though, Dana Rodriguez. She is a buzzsaw. She can literally, she's got the South Park crew behind her, and she has two representatives in this matchup or in this bracket. We have working class here in the Callies, and we'll discuss SMB in a little while. What do you think are the chances of Dana seeing a little daylight week 2? I know you love Point Easy, but it's Dana Rodriguez. It's fucking Trey Stone, Matt Parker. Matt Stone, Trey Parker, whatever.
Don't get me wrong, I love working class. And I'm going to say I love working class more than Super Mega BN. And both of them can easily make a run, but they're up right out the gates against some tough competition. Working class up against Point Easy and Super Mega BN up against Pouliot. People wait in line for those bakery items on Saturdays.
No, you're not lying, Chris. It's going to be an absolute doozy and it's literally a murderer's row in every region. I have a sleeper to upset the top team and everyone. So if this was like a bracket challenge where if you only get one entry, I would be probably going with a little more heavy favorites. But if you have two where you can go rogue, that's a great point where Cart Driver versus Noisette in the play-in game there, is enough to cause a rift in the game because of the bread. Cart Driver has pizza, pasta, and that bread game with the 10 fish and TikTok, they have a chance to be lethal. And you're right. The baked goods community really shows out. Those gluten fucks, it's almost German. They love it. So it's going to be crazy. Sorry, I probably shocked a couple of the French folks by saying German. But at the same time, who do you like coming out of it? Is it Annette running to the finals? Who do you have coming out of the Callies region?
I'm going to go with La Diabla.
Okay. The James Beard semifinalist himself, Chef Jose, has got a nice arsenal of food and a little accreditation, so he could make some moves in there. And if anyone threatens Annette, it could definitely be them.
And he's also got he's doing a lot of stuff. He's really active in the community right now. I think they're about to do some kind of insect festival.
Fuck yeah, it's crunchy season starting today, I believe.
So he's constantly out there in El Borrego Negro. People know that, and he's just made a great spot in this community, and I love it. So I got them going deep.
Okay. So let's navigate down. I'm not going to be biased because I have to. It's like when Kirk Herbstreit doesn't make a pick for the games he's calling.
Right.
I'm just going to give some insight into if I was a betting man. There's some value in these little longer shots that aren't on the top of each bracket. And that leads us to our next region, Chris, the Mile High Life region. If y'all don't know, Mile High Life, new brand, we're helping kind of spearhead the project of telling you what you should be doing after work. In the Mile High Life region, Yuan Wantan, I think is how she taught me to say it, and I butcher it every time. Penelope, Knockers, and Rob, coming off of James Beard semifinalist nod themselves. They're leaps and bounds the one seed in the food truck and pop-up region, but they're also matched with Misfit Snack Bar and Chef Bo, who is got a nod as well and ran through the Stoner region to get the one seed. So it's like conference championships, and we have two mega creative chefs on bookends with a loaded docket in the middle. What do you think? How do you break down? What are some of the best first and second round matchups that really tickle your pickle?
No stone thrown at Senor Bear, but I think Yuan Wanton. I like saying it that way.
I think you're right on that one too. I think Penelope would approve.
I think that kind of goes through. I think it's nice to see Pirate Alley in there, or potentially with the play-in game. So U.S. Thai versus Pirate Alley. And I was kind of a new guy on U.S. Thai this year, having moved to the West Side. And I got to say, like, it may not be the flashiest Thai food, but it's right down the street, and I still go there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like U.S. Thai because their heat levels are very, if you want to make your butthole hurt, this is one way to do it.
But their curry dishes,
There's other ways,
curry dishes and their noodle dishes are good.
Everything is,
yeah.
It's delicious. I think there are some complaints that come out of there, especially when they expanded from being like a two-table place to having 6-foot tables. They may have gotten a big head, Chris. But you are right. They're serving up delicious fiery treats. But I love seeing Pirate Alley in there. I think they came out of Stoner region.
Maybe bready?
It may have been bready. I can't remember because I don't have the list in front of us. But they've done some really crazy stuff on their menu, whether it be the fried shrimp po' boy that we love dearly, to the, roulette and all the other, pork roulette and all the other shit they have on their menu. They're doing some really creative stuff. And Chef Kyle is a wizard in the butchery department.
Yeah, he's awesome. Fun guy. So another place I haven't had the chance to go to, but I was glad to see that through the committee this got on there. Wayne's Smoke Shack. I haven't been there yet. I need to go because I have been having a craving for barbecue. And I need to get out there and try a place I haven't tried.
Yeah, we're going to talk with Jeremy a little later this afternoon. He is one of our bigger proponents in the open fire barbecue scene. With his travel history, he hits a lot of the south of the United States, and he fancies himself some fucking brisket, and he swears by Wayne's. And I think, he introduced me to Wayne's, and the story behind it is that of like March Madness stories, like ones you want to hear at the Final Four. It's like the golf story on Sundays about the guy that's in contention. They're a Marshall Fire, and I'll let Jeremy kind of tell the story, but they're doing ungodly work in the barbecue scene up in Superior, strip mall snacking. A+.
And that's what I love. And Superior's not that far. I can swing out there, swing to a brewery, and get in it.
See, now one thing I liked about this region, Chris, is that we had a lot of diversity that we had never had in the bracket before. Our first introduction to some sweet over savory locations, a.k.a. Right Cream, making their first appearance. Kind of reminds you of like a Colgate as a 13 seed. They could really wreck some shit, especially if they put their following behind it. They have a large social media presence. David is a competitive cat, loves to have some fun as well. I could see them giving a damn here, in this bracket and trying to make some noise. I think that would be a lot of fun to see if that occurs. Another one that Jeremy will kind of talk about later is the Poulette Bakery. It got a nod from your employer Westward as one of the best bakeries in the city, top 25.
And I also believe that the crew that runs that is kind of like from the culinary world of the Northeast, so they could potentially tap in.
They're French trained, so we vote for 24 hours. So if the frogs get up a little later, the team from Poulette could rally a whole different wave. The same thing from like the Revolutionary War when the French saved us, so that could be a mindset that they're channeling a whole country. Maybe Mbappe gets behind it. You never know.
That's why it's wild.
That's, what's even wilder, Chris, is that we haven't even talked about Chef Bo and Misfit. And I mean, they literally did a number on the voting system. Because when you think of creative or stoner snacking, or maybe there's someone high in the kitchen, you think of the Misfit menu, whether it be like fucking mustard seed raviolis or, the fried chicken sandwiches or the dip of the day being whatever the fuck he wants it to be. There's a lot to be proud of by just being the one seed out of the stoner demo or subset. But I mean, there's a path there for Misfit to make a run here. And possibly run into a Yoan Wonton or a fifth string, Amos.
Yeah, and also we've got a vegan spot on here. Somebody people.
Oh, good call.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's vegan. It's vegetarian, but
and vegan as
I think it's all vegan.
It may be, and I don't want to speak on behalf of and be wrong because we don't ever do that here.
No.
But they were in the mix last year too, and I feel like they've even gained more notoriety. While we're not regulars, that's the best thing about the committee is that other folks may be, and they know who's hitting in that scene as well. So, they made some noise last year, and going against a first timer in Levin Deli, that's a good battle for Meat Free Mondays.
Yeah, and Levin Deli made it in. I mean, like, there's some stiff deli competitions that they beat out.
Oh, yeah. And, rightfully so, they should be in this battle. I feel like they were a glaring omission on our behalf last year. But we have a whole new subset for folks that are doing gnarly shit with bread. And so I think both Somebody People and Levin could have come through that region. But I can't remember. Somebody People may have been a stoner, but I can't remember exactly. Both of those are going to be a fun matchup, and I like to see them duke it out.
And the funny thing is, in the Mile High Life region, we've got 2 food trucks in there because we've got Jan Wonton and then we've got Mukja.
Yeah, so I think you're actually going to see a food truck, I believe, every 8. So every Sweet 16 should at least have a compatible food truck or pop-up that is available. We tried to have them all separated, and then the KIP algorithm scored them based off of their points, like highest here, got the 8 seat from here, things like that. And then the wild cards are teams that tied and not necessarily were lowest scored, so they had to go instantly into a first round matchup against a juggernaut. But at the same time, somewhat, that's why we have so many play-ins, because we wanted to include more. And if we miss somebody, we apologize. At the same time, it's all meant to be in good fun. But, like Chris said, if we hadn't been there, and then if you have 5 other people that no one vouched for it or not enough people did, then it's hard to overcome a bump from, somebody getting a 7 from one person and a 6 from another. It's hard to get. 15 was about the point line where you had to get, which meant 2 people or 3 people voted for you, or 2 people had you in their top 3.
You know what I was also thinking? Because obviously March Madness 2023 is going to be bigger than 2022. But if it keeps on getting bigger, we need to make printer-friendly versions of this bracket if we ever get to that point. Because we're barely doing audio correct here. But
Chris, do you know how fucking difficult it was to get formatting correct for doing a multi-post on Instagram with the fucking note card shaped full bracket in the first picture and getting those 4 the 4 regions? It was a mega bitch. Shout out again to Fearberg for making my life so much easier. It's not that easy because it zooms in so much, and then when you zoom it out, it doesn't have the proper proportions, and then so you have to go zoom your picture out so it's smaller, but then it's so small that you can't even see it, and it looks like you're looking at the first picture. It's not easy. It's not all bells and whistles and roses over here.
That's why we're missing our good old intern, Zane. He could have.
I miss Zane.
Anyways, so segue into Mr. B's region.
Yeah,
now.
A man that makes us want to drink. Our long-lost love, Zane.
I love this region.
Is it because you love booze?
That, and I love it because I put one in particular, one group into my stoner category, Stoner Eats. And that was Yacht Club.
Okay,
I was kind of thinking
you weren't alone though.
I was kind of thinking like stone, like slightly hungover. So I go into Yacht Club and get me a glizzy and a nice beverage, and then you got to be back to 100% in no time.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a genius concept. And if it was just you and I were just duking it out, talking about it, it would have been a totally different construct in my mind. Like, oh, well, it's more bar. But you're right. That is a perfect snack. And I love their glizzies. And even for their birthday, they churched it up and threw, a little creme fraiche and caviar. But you can just dress it down with a quarter pan or even just a basic baby sauce pan. And they just throw it on an electric eye with a little chili, top off of Hollywood Frank. It's a great addition. And I'm so glad you and the committee agreed. Not even talking. Obviously, everything was a blind ballot, and it was just a great idea.
Yeah, another one I like in this group, coming from our bready kind of category, is Hearth.
Hearth is really, really good. I think they're kind of in a pickle here because they're running into a machine. But at the same time, this is their first year. They have their own location in the former Third Culture Bakery, so AKA right behind Uchi. And it 100% deserves to be in this conversation because it is fucking amazing bread.
Oh,
like,
dude.
Great bread. It sucks that they're paired with Hop Alley because I think Hop Alley may be the greatest restaurant in the world, in my opinion, because I love to sweat. But Hearth's bread is immaculate.
It's so good. The first time I had it this summer,
The croissants and the
I got
coffee.
it. I got it from the Highlands Square
That's where I
Market.
Yeah.
And I remember we bought like it was like one of their seeded loaves or something. But I remember like we got home and we just cut down one piece, pretty thick piece, and we ate that. And then the next thing you know, I'm halfway through the fucking loaf and it's been 10 minutes.
Dude, you got a nice little warm butter. You could sit there and just put it down. It's a great place to have little meetings or just tuck away and work for a second. But at the same time, that's where I was introduced to them as well. And then when I saw that they opened up in Rhino, I had breakfast there to shake a hangover myself. Snow was falling. It was a quaint little spot. So when I saw it come out of the bread bakery region, or subset, whatever we're calling those fuckers, I was like, hell yeah, that's awesome. But I feel like Hop Alley, they made a really solid run last year. They tried their damnedest and they're going to try again this year. But there's a lot in this region that I think could fuck shit up.
Another vegan spot.
There is another vegan spot. But I was kind of thinking Spontino could ruin a day, especially if enough folks are there. I also think that if you look a little closer, Wolf's Taylor, I know you just mentioned Yacht Club. Wolf's Taylor could clip Hop Alley even quicker because with Kelly opening the new spot, they're a force to be reckoned with, especially coming out of the fine dining scene, like third place. They've got a lot. They're going to have a lot of a following as well, and they have a couple different pages they can vote for. So if it comes down to 2 or 3, the IE family is there in droves.
One spot I'm curious about, and it's mainly because I haven't gotten to visit it yet, is Urban Village, because I mean the buzz is abound. Like, it's a good Indian restaurant.
That's one of I think we'll talk with Jeremy in detail about that later because he put me on it. I know Molly had it in her top 25.
Yeah.
But I had not known it. But we aren't Lone Tree people. I don't go to the Park Meadows Mall. Now I do. That's how good it is. The bread, the naan they do, the lamb flavors. And I wish we had a larger Indian representation in today's bracket, but by God, Chris, this is really good Indian food. I mean, I'll go down there with you any day you want.
I think the Indian food representation, and maybe followers can turn us on to some new ones, but I mean, really and truly, like, just hard-hitting Indian food in Denver is slightly amiss.
Yeah, and I kind of thought that we would see more. I thought Samosa Shop may have shown up because Dave Hadley does great stuff in the pop-up region. He does stuff with the cannabis community. He has dank-ass food. And then Spice Room, I think it's really good. I may be neighborhoodly biased as it's right there on 38th and Lowell. But I think it, but at the same time, we only get 64 spots. So if you can only have, I don't think you should only have to have one. But if you can only have one, man, Urban Village fucking slaps.
See, and like my go-to is more of a neighborhood spot too. It's in Chuli, but
that's a good one. What was your spot on the east side? Did you have one when you were a Colfax kid?
There really wasn't. I mean, I may have missed something, but there really wasn't any good Indian food over in that area.
And on this side, deep in the Arvada burbs, you can do the Yak and Yeti game as well. I saw that they got a couple votes. Him Chuli had some votes, and I believe another Indian spot, I don't know exactly what it was, also got some votes, but they were all kind of in different neighborhoods, and you could tell where the committee was. But Urban Village was unanimous in. I think they had 3 people that had committee votes on there, so they were in. Chris, there's also one that I feel folks are going to not know well enough, but they need to. And that's our friends over at Barbosa Barbecue in the play-in game. They're up against a Bruiser, Reunion Bread out of the Source. Those are both solid eateries. Barbosa's, they're Cajun boys. They're Southern. They do great barbecue. So no matter what happens, if you have the opportunity, they post up at Bandon Oak Brewery on Broadway in like 6th or 7th.
Yeah, it's fairly
6th
early on the Broadway stretch.
Yeah, 6th and 5th, in between those two, where that kind of near that Moe's.
His goddamn brisket is real good, and I'm not even a fan of brisket.
Too.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's a great one. And so I'm curious to see who comes out of that. I'm very eager to see that because I think barbecue's going to get a better run this year when they're not having to beat each other up. You're going to see a couple barbecue spots show out and their followers kind of show up.
Yeah.
All right. And Chris, our last section of the night, we'll get out of here on a good note because we have two guests who are going to break it down what they think. Who do you think's coming out of the Bar Green Ellingson group? Because I feel like this one's a bruiser.
Yeah, there's some tough ones in here. I mean, obviously, like, Tavernetta's just solid, not because I work there, but just because it's fucking solid. They've got a love of followers. So that one, I think they played pretty well last year, too.
They did. I can't remember how far. I'll look into it before.
I want to say they may have made it to the Elite Eight.
And, I feel like now everyone's going to probably play along a little bit better. Or
Yeah.
I like to believe that everybody will. There's a lot more on the line.
I tell you, I think Bakery 4 can make a little dance here. Like, I put them in there, not so much under the bready category kind of thing, but, like, I can't remember if I may have put them in Stoner Eats because one day I had their breakfast sandwich, and that was so fucking good. Like, I had no idea I was going to get that good of a egg sandwich. And
I don't think you were alone. They came through in droves. They may have been the 2 or 3 seed out of the bread game behind Poulette. I can't remember. Maybe the 3. But they do great work. I mean, and I feel like they are exactly who could wreck a person's bracket. So if everybody who's in the game is selecting Tavernetta as their entry, it's going to be a beast. That is an absolute bear of a second-round matchup if you get Bakery 4. But that doesn't mean Go Ahead Zur is going quietly into the night. But I think Bakery 4 has made a very large name for themselves, and so they'll probably see some really solid.
I tell you what's going to be, I think, an exciting matchup is Post Oak and Kike. I mean, like, Post Oak's wings are fucking real good, and those beans.
It's not like everyone's going to eat the fucking food tomorrow, Chris. I mean,
I know.
Kike's
I'm just saying,
well
though.
known as the Berria. I feel like this is a real tough battle for Post Oak. They got a tough draw, and all of this is just a made-up draw.
They do, but they're kind of in similar locations. So I mean, they probably draw similar people, like, I mean, crowds from the same area. So it just depends on if you were feeling like you wanted some really good chicken wings, or if you wanted some birria tacos.
I mean, it could literally be what strikes you that day.
Yeah.
And the craziest part is the bottom half of this is even gnarlier, Chris. I feel like people are underestimating this, but Little Arthur's Hoagies going up potentially against a Blue Pan in round 2, I think that winner could easily win this region. That second round winner. It's like looking at Steph Curry against Georgetown. It's that kind of shot. It's those are perfect stoner eats. They're unbelievably great at what they do, pizzas and hoags, and they have a following on social media. I feel like Brixton's a tough battle, but at the same time, you could motivate the stoner population by if someone hasn't had Little Arthur's or hasn't had Brixton, if you clicked both of them, you may be like, this hoagie looks like I want to have sex with it. And this French food looks very nice and I want to eat it. But it's not going to have that same, slaps category.
And, I mean, people may underestimate Brixton because a lot of people go there, and also
they made a killer run last year. So that's me putting the down. I'm picking a 6 seed out of this.
And with Yacht Club being in this year's mix, the two, like, since they're connected, they can join forces and support another. It's kind of like Survivor.
Speaking of which, it starts tonight.
I had to bring that in there. I don't know if that played well or not, but it's
does.
kind of like you friend them
Allegiances?
until you get to fucking.
That's not a bad idea. If someone's listening to this and you're like, shit, let me find someone on the other side and be like, y'all want to just vote our balls off for one another until we get to the end, and then when it's dog
Gloves
eat
are
dog.
off.
Yeah. If you can do that, more power to you. But the key is to share our page as many times as possible through many sources. It's the best way to generate votes.
I tell you what, like, and I think it's like, I put Shoot Chicken in my ballot.
I don't think you were alone.
No.
In the open fire region.
And I think because like, it's nothing that's gonna crazy wow you, but it's consistent. And rather than picking up that rotisserie chicken at the grocery
Costco,
store,
I'm gonna beat your ass.
like
Okay.
calling in an order when you're craving a chicken and you don't feel like making one at Shook, it's fucking solid. Like
You may win over a lot of house moms with that vote, Chris. You know what I'm saying? Like oh my God, that has saved our family from multiple, spousal abuse calls. It could be very much that. Someone strangled their kid. Classic Casey Anthony situation.
Although
all of those things could have occurred if Chook wasn't around. So they really do save a family of four more often than not.
And Chook, open up something on the west side. Jesus Christ.
Sponsor this goddamn podcast, Alex.
Do something. But other than that, like, I'm excited to see, like you were saying earlier, Little Arthur's. Unfortunately, I still haven't been able to make it. I haven't had a Hobie.
That is a problem sometimes that if, that may have been what stalled Yuan's Wonton's run last year, was that not everybody had access to the chili dumplings that are so coveted in the community. And Hop Alley ended up winning that one fairly close. That could be the case with Little Arthur's. Somebody could say, well, I've had Blue Pan. I haven't had Little Arthur's, so I'm not going to vote for Little Arthur's. But you never know. He may weaponize Philadelphia, and those, I think they call themselves dirt bags, but they are fucking nuts. And when it comes to competition, I am fucking scared of their fandoms. So you never know what's going to come out of it. But I think the Dirty Birds, I think they've got a really good chance this year, Chris.
Dude,
they're going to fare a lot better here than they did against the Super Bowl champion Chiefs.
I love the mix-up we have here. Just so,
It's
like,
much
everybody,
more fun.
like,
there's no easy route.
No. And, like, I imagine there are going to be lots of upsets. Like, some people who think these, like, big-name restaurants are going to beat some of these little guys, I think you're on notice.
Yeah, Chris. It's going to be a really doozy. The downtown scene is going to be put on blast here because a lot of these neighborhood spots, you're about to learn about them. And that's what really the goal is to showcase great restaurants in the community. Albeit we make a fun competition out of it, but a winning restaurant gets something cool out of it. The objective is to showcase the great restaurants in the community. So next time somebody's like, oh shit, where should I eat? This is now becoming your North Star for 2023 of not only what we think as us and folks that we consider knowledgeable in the food category in the community. We don't get influencers that fucking eat free tacos all day. We get actual people that go out and spend money and eat great places, support local restaurants, and they helped us create this restaurant list. So you can't go wrong. And sadly, I wish we could like re-scramble it at the end so that we could have them all broken down by like genre of food, so that I could be like, oh, you're craving Asian, here are the top 8 Asians from restaurants from our bracket. So maybe we'll do that after the fact with crowns allied.
But nonetheless, like, these 64 restaurants plus a few, like, go out and try them.
All of them. That should be your goal for this year. Try all 70. Clip the ones you haven't. Chris, this is the last question for you. Who do you have in your final 4?
Fuck. Okay. Shooting from the hip. I'm going to go with Annette. And
you already had La Diabla on Cali's.
Oh, I did have La Diabla. So I got
idiot.
La Diabla
out
of Cali's.
I
got La Diabla out of Cali's. I've got...
Don't drink and drive.
Jan Wonton
Okay,
out
there
of
you
Mile
go.
High Life.
You were trying to go super chalk, but I'm glad to see you have now a 2 seed and a 1 seed overall.
And then in the Mr. B side, I've got Hop Alley.
Okay, another 1 seed. He's really going off the beaten path.
And then in the Bar Green and Ellison, I'm gonna go with Bakery 4.
Oh, going against his former employer. You heard it here first, y'all. Chris hated working for Bobby Stuckey.
No, I didn't, Bobby. I love you.
No, and I doubt he's listening to this. He hasn't tuned in since he heard what we did to his episode. At the same time, Chris, those are all, you can't go wrong with those restaurants and a litany of the others in the community that are showcased here and the ones that aren't. I want to say thanks to our sponsors yet again. And do we have anything else we're missing?
I've got one question for you.
Oh, go.
When do the games begin?
Chris, I'm glad you asked that. So if you're listening to this on Thursday, the play-in games begin Friday. Every day at 8 a.m. on the weekdays. So we'll do Friday for play-in games. Monday we will have a fresh bracket with the teams that won from the play-in games. Monday at 8 a.m. we will drop the first wave. Now the first wave may be Callie's, maybe My High Life, maybe Bar Green, maybe Mr. B's. You don't know. But on Monday we will do all of one region. Tuesday, all of one region. Wednesday, all of one region. Thursday, from Spain, all of one region. That's how it's going to be done. We're going to drop it every day at 8 a.m. when we kind of get up and get moving. It gives everybody the full day to campaign it and into the night so that if maybe you do have friends abroad, they can wake up and vote for you. And then that next morning, the next wave starts. On Fridays, you will have recap episodes from Chris and I. So we'll be shifting our Thursday episodes to Friday, only for March, so that we can recap the week of results and tell everybody what we expect in the following week to come. In the meantime, don't forget to play the game. Get on our social media post. Give your Final Four. And if you are right, you win a gift card to the winning restaurant. You win a care package from our friends at Callie's Cannabis, a care package from our friends at Mr. B's. And if you own a restaurant as well, fuck it. We'll give you a Bar Green Ellingson gift card as well. Otherwise, maybe we'll give you like a pan or something. You know, like a nice like non-stick pan.
Everybody loves a non-stick.
A Staub, you know, a nice Dutch oven. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but we hope everybody has as much fun with this as we had creating it. And I hope y'all have as much fun as we're about to have in the next 30 days goofing off and trying to celebrate local restaurants.
Fuck yeah, make some noise.
Anything else we missed today, Chris?
I think that's it. I mean, this is the only exciting thing going on in my life right now.
Oh, what are you doing this weekend? Anything cool?
Mountains.
Okay, nice. Well, enjoy skiing. Be safe. Don't flip your car. Not too soon. He's already got a new one. But y'all enjoy our guests. We have Mr. Jeremy Harlan and Mr. Alex Sagiamo joining us right after this with their reports from the commission. Cheers. And now we bring in our senior correspondent from the South, Sir Jeremy Harlan. While he hasn't been knighted, I still like to give him the proper homage. How are you today, Jeremy?
I'm good, my man. I'm good. I'm excited for the bracket to come out for everybody to see our choices and see who's upset and who's excited.
Dude, we're definitely going to get some hate messages. I can't wait to read them on air next week from Spain with people just being like, what the fuck, dude? How'd you leave me out? But I think we have a great representation of 68, 70 restaurants from around the metro area. And, you know, one thing that's different from this year from last year, and Chris and I spoke about it, was getting other people's input because we can't cover everything. And you have a vast knowledge of some of these target areas, genres, as we say, and you travel around the metro on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah. You could say I'm the guy that's going to represent the mid-majors, right? I know the suburbs well, especially the South. And a lot of people don't come down here and see things and try things. And so I'm glad to be part of the committee just to kind of give us, the Southsiders, a chance to speak, and us folk out here in the suburbs, because we do have some good places. Sometimes people just need to drive a little bit to get to them.
I couldn't agree more. As someone who's been able to go to lunch with you a time or two, you've taken me to some places that I have never been to in obscure strip malls and locations in the suburbs. And you've also put me on some aces when I'm out there eating alone. So I have full faith in your knowledge in the scene. But yeah, we wanted to get kind of your breakdown from today with the release of the podcast dropping as the same time as the bracket. Which, who do you see going forward? Which one do you feel is like the most loaded segment or section of the bracket? Tell us what you think about how it shook out.
All right. So first of all, I think what I'm going to do is focus on a few teams, few restaurants that I really like. And of course, since I'm on the south side, I'll start on the far north side. I don't think there's a better feel-good story in this bracket than Wayne's Smokehouse up in Superior. So if people aren't familiar with their story, Sam and Wayne lost their house and lost Wayne's Smoke Shack during the Marshall Fire. And they had to rebuild from scratch both. And so almost 13 months later, they finally were able to reopen Wayne's Smoke Shack and our Smokehouse. And I was there for the first day, and it's like they didn't miss a beat. They are arguably the best barbecue in the metro area, bar none. And they immediately out of the gate, 13 months down, didn't matter. First day out, they were right, full gear, beautiful. So I really am excited to see how well they do. They're a great feel-good story. Coming back on the south side, my top seed in the Asian bracket, probably a little controversial, was Urban Village. I love Urban Village. I think it's the best Indian food in the Denver metro area. I've taken you there. And anyone that says that crispy kale dish is not one of the best 5 dishes in Denver, I'm sorry. It's amazing. And I love Chef Charlie. He's done amazing things so far.
Dude, it's so good. And when you put me on that, it was right around the time I think Westward had just released, their top 52 or top whatever it was. And so like it started to kind of create this buzz. And I was like, oh, I've had this restaurant. It is one of those, like you were saying in your intro, if you haven't ventured to the South, Urban Village is appointment visiting worthy. Like, do your shopping, check out Urban Village. That place is great. And I hope that enough people since, last year or so with that publication have had the opportunity to kind of go try it, and that we'll see those votes come through because they're up there in that vaulted Hop Alley region, the Mr. B's liquor region. It's gonna be a doozy of a bracket for them.
And I do believe, who do they go up against in the opening round? Is it
they have Redeemer Pizza.
So okay. I mean, these are tough, man. There's so many good brackets. You got strength versus strength, but listen, I know folks say, oh, would I go to a mall to eat? Yes, you need to go to Park Meadows Mall and try Urban Village. It really is amazing. We go almost weekly. You can get something different every time, and it's amazing. And then, listen, finally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Poulette. And everybody that knows me knows I am lock, stock, and barrel for Poulette down in Parker. Another just amazing location, doing amazing things. Alan and Carolyn, they've got a very hard opening round matchup against Super Mega Bien. I mean, when you have to go against Dana Rodriguez, a James Beard finalist, that's a tough task. But I will say this, if they can get past the first round, I think they've got a chance to go far in that bracket. Remember, they have a big following on Instagram when it comes to all the millennials in Denver, and a lot of people come from around, but they own Douglas County. They own the South Side Instagram social media. So they could come with a lot of heat. It is going to be a tough crack to get out of the first round, but if they do, watch out. I think they can go far.
Dude, okay, so I'm looking at this now in the Mile High Life region on the thing. So yeah, Poulette is paired up with Super Mega Bien, one of Dana's probably like flagship locations along with Working Class, which I believe made the cut as well. But it does have an opportunity to where the fine dining and the stoner foods are going to meet up on the other side of their little Sweet 16. And so they're going to kind of eat themselves alive. So if they come out, you're exactly right. They have a whole region or like a whole like area of the city that they could kind of push those votes toward. I mean, I like their chances. And you are right. Like it started to create such a buzz in the community. Their baked goods are phenomenal. So, we have a little bit different representation this year. We're going to have more baked products, a couple sweet treats as well that have made the cut. What were some that, were kind of surprising? You're like, holy shit, I did not think that they were going to get out of bracket play that, could make some noise.
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. What are you thinking?
Okay, so hear me out. I know Annette is our last year's winner, but they have kind of a brutal Sweet 16 capture. So I think that Cali's cannabis region in the top left, they have a doozy where Annette's going to have Uncle or Dio Mio, which is a best of both nudes. And then you have King of Wings, who's going to be fighting it out with one of our favorite barbecue places, Pit Fiend, and King of Wings has a very strong social media following as well. So I could see some disruptors up in that category. I know Annette is fantastic. They really pound the pavement last year in terms of like getting out the vote, rocking the vote. But, they've got a lot more on their plate this year. They've picked up, a lot of hardware and a new baby. So they may not be as social media forward. So I don't know. Could King of Wings wreck something by being present on social media, having a big burger turnout and trying to yearn the vote? I feel like it's, it's, the best of Denver restaurants. It not, a sushi restaurant versus an ice cream spot. How is one to choose? It's who utilizes the social media platform the best in that aspect. So I think that's the crazy way to look at it.
All right. So here's one I got for you. And it hurts me to see this in the first round, but it's the Easy Vegan versus Kamal in the first round. And I'm going to focus a little on Easy Vegan right now, because first of all, these were two of my top seeds in my original rankings. So it's tough to see them go to head to head. Here's the thing about Easy Vegan. Right now, they are competing in the Great Food Truck Race show on Food Network, which means they have picked up a lot of social media people in Los Angeles and California, and with already a strong Denver base. They have an army behind them. I'm telling you, they could give Hop Alley a lot of trouble in a potential second round matchup.
I could not agree more. And I'm glad you brought that to the forefront, because the ladies have been slaying it in California. They recently had a 1 week moratorium where they could use their social media to promote their restaurant to continue on in the competition. And so they continue to succeed to the point that they didn't have to use the social media. They advanced to the next round. So they have their cell phones back in their possession. So they could, that's professional insight right there, Jeremy. I like where your head's at. But that's exactly it.
What else do we need to do? What else do we need to talk about, man?
So, let me ask you one. There's obviously going to be people that will send the hate messages or have the snubs. Obviously y'all did blind balloting. And so everybody sent in their power rankings of the regions. And then I did it based off a point system. I'm going to change that next year to where we can all have a shared file, so that we maybe make sure that, someone didn't get left out accidentally. If you had to say, who was maybe someone that you wish you had seen in the competition that obviously may be NIT worthy this year?
You said the NIT exactly. So these would be my top seeds in the NIT. Now, some of these folks didn't get mentioned. Some reason they didn't qualify. So my first example is Plates by the Pound. Love what Aaron does, right? It's a little difficult to enter this tournament because he's only open 1 day a week, doesn't have dine-in seating. I love what Aaron does. He is absolutely fantastic on the barbecue scene. Los Dos Patrios, right? Us Southsiders, you can't find a table at Los Dos Patrios on a Friday or Saturday night. It's impossible. It's a 2 to 3 hour wait. They are juggernauts here on the South Side. Los Dos Patrios, I'm sad to see not there. Listen, the suburbs are full of these secret gems that just aren't out there. Lubo's Pizza, love it. Great pizza, right? There's just a lot of these teams out there restaurants that will be, I'd like to get a little more publicity, get them in the bracket, but listen, 1 year at a time, right? We got to take it one step at a time. We got a few suburb places in this year. Next year, we may have a few more. So I think the NIT bracket for Denver would be super packed. And those would probably be my top seeds to start off with.
All right. And then the last question, I'll let you go back to your day job, as we know you're not a ESPN correspondent for the food scene here in Colorado. If you had to guess, what region do you think the winner will come out of?
Okay. I need to look. If Annette could still bring strong, but they're going to have to face Uncle, Softa, those are pretty strong,
You
right
think
there.
Softa and La Diabla looks like an if it gets to that, because Cart Driver is a weapon, as is Ace, and then the new Restaurant Point, easy. But that Softa is an absolute weapon, especially if a loan wants to get involved with the social game. Use the Louisiana Purchase as well.
Yeah.
That's a good.
And listen, any bracket that's got Penelope and Yuan Wonton, you have to look at them. You have to know that that's going to be a side of the bracket that's going to come strong.
So you think it's going to be coming from the Callies of the Mile High Life region, is what you're saying? That maybe the Bar Green or the Mr. B's may be eating themselves alive?
Could be. So.
Well, Jeremy, I appreciate you taking the time. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you again for providing not only insight into the commission, but also for speaking out for some of the South Side. We appreciate you.
Thanks, kid. We'll see you and excited to see the bracket come out.
Yes, sir. Talk to you later.
See you, man.
Oh, man, that was a great interview. Jeremy, you're a sport and a trooper. I appreciate you putting up with our shenanigans and taking the time to goof off. Before we get into our next interview with committee member Alex Saggiano, I just want to give a shout out to our friends over at Standing Akimbo. If y'all have been on the fence about getting your med card in 2023, I can't recommend it enough. Not only will you save thousands of dollars in cannabis purchases over the next couple months, but the staff over there is wonderful, and you can get those heavy hitters you see us faded on the couch with. Shout out to our friends at Standing Akimbo. Let's get back to the action. All right, and now we're sitting down with committee member Alex Saggiano to talk about the bracket reveal today. We've got a couple of our committee members that will be joining us throughout the month. We're stoked to have Alex joining us today. Alex, how are you, brother?
Dude, it is my absolute pleasure to be here. I feel like the accomplishment I've been waiting for my entire life. It's like getting married, having a family, being on the Stoned Appetit podcast. Like that's really, I feel like I've peaked.
Well, I feel honored not only to have you on the podcast, but also to have you on the committee. For our listeners that maybe don't follow you on our social media or haven't hung out with us when we're goofing off at pop-up events. Alex is a content creator, used to previously work with Blue Apron, and is now fully immersing himself in the Denver restaurant and community scene. So he has a great lay of the land. Before we get started, Alex, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and do you miss cooking at home from a box?
That is a great question. Well, I moved here to Denver about 2 years and change ago. My husband got a job offer. We're sitting in our apartment, in Brooklyn in COVID. And he's like, I got a job, but it means we'd have to move to. And I was like, yes. So luckily it ended up being Denver, which was great. We'd been here once before in 2018 to see a Dua Lipa concert. And I feel like if you're going to move somewhere, that's the best tidings you can do it with. So it's been an absolute blast. Denver's been amazing. Coming here from New York, food, I was a little nervous about the food scene because I didn't really know much about it whatsoever. And I cannot tell you how happily surprised I've been. Everything and everyone I've met has been passionate. The food has been crazy. There's incredible amount of diversity in what I've been eating. If I'm not eating, I'm usually not breathing. So that's kind of like they're line in line. So I'd like to think that I've eaten at a ton of places around the Denver metro area. And truthfully, it's harder to think of a bad meal than it is of a good meal.
No, I couldn't agree more. And you're right. You mentioned that there's creativity and there's diversity. And I think that we see that in our bracket reflection today.
1,000%.
You brought the hammer as well. Obviously, we've been goofing off at pop-ups and truck events and, cannabis dinners and things of that nature. But you have your finger on the pulse when it comes to fine dining, sandwiches, strip mall eats, whatever it may be. You definitely know that your way around the city.
I like to think that I try to do a little bit of everything. When I moved here, I didn't really know anybody. And so a way for me to make friends is through food, and started going to a lot of pop-ups in the area, Little Arthur's, Right Cream, all those good guys, the Chutney Boys, started to meet them, started to branch out a little bit, Pit Fiend before they had their brick and mortar, and everybody was so kind, so hospitable. I just became a fanboy, and now I'm a friend. It's amazing.
I mean, I couldn't agree more, not only on how you got to know those folks, included, David and AJ, Chef David as well, and then Sean and the team. There is a fair representation of chutney boys in the event.
Peppered throughout.
Yeah, for sure. But we have a litany of great restaurants. And so we wanted to dive into it. Who were some of your favorites that you think can make it deep? And maybe you had them high in your bracket when you were filling out your committee membership paperwork.
That is a great question. Let me just crack my knuckles here real quick and get into this beast of a bracket that we've created right here. Some of the early favorites, I would say. So I live in the Congress Park area. And I like to affectionately say, someone's like, "Oh, you went to this restaurant. Where is it?" I'm like, it's 15 minutes from my house. That's kind of how good I am at geography. So I feel like where I am, it's super easy to get to everywhere in the city. So pretty much I would say at least once a week, you can find me posted up at Misfit Snack Bar. That is an early favorite of mine. What Chef Bo, the program he started there, is absolutely incredible. I feel like that's one of the places that encompasses both stoner eats, but also just like an incredible level of technique and precision. And you can tell that like the three dudes who are cooking incredible food out of a kitchen the size of a closet is just absolutely changing the game. It's amazing. I mean, the James Beard nomination totally reflects it too. It's incredible what Chef Bo has done. So I would say Misfit Snack Bar is definitely up there. If we're going on the more fine dining side, man, I would say Bruto. I think Bruto is probably one of the first meals that I ate in Denver that I left that I was like, holy shit. Like I might not be in New York anymore and I don't really care at all. Like Chef Michael over there. I mean, the fermentation program itself is incredible, but on top of that, the level of authenticity and commitment and work that they put into their food every night it's truly beyond belief. It's amazing. I was there last Sunday. I'm going back this Sunday. I feel like they might put a restraining order out soon, but until then, I'm going to keep going as much as possible. And then past that, I would say, you've got your little places too, like Right Cream is an institution for me. I would say, Chef David is one of the people who really was like kind and courteous to me when I first started. Like I said, fanboy. Do
you think that Right Cream could beat a Bruto? Like this is our first year having sweets, and while we're specifically talking about the Mile High Life region, as they say, those are three big bruisers. You're one of the A-listers in ice cream, including going against a chef tasting menu with its own bread and fermentation and grains. And then you mentioned literally the James Beard Award-winning or nominated Stoner Eats leader. Yes. Like they came out of the Stoner Conference division as the overall 1 seed, and they're paired against, Yuan Wonton out of the food truck pop-up scene. So that's a bruiser of a category.
That is like Rocky Balboa and that other dude that he fought in the movie that I should have known, back when I was a kid. But it's unbelievable. I mean, some of these matchups, are incredible, but I love the way that the bracket is designed is that you do have somebody like a Right Cream who's maybe a little bit newer in the game going up against someone like a Misfit Snack Bar or even a Bruto. I think that there's going to be some serious competition here. And I think the fans are going to come out in droves and we're going to see, who's got the most support behind them.
Okay, so I want to take you over to the Cali's cannabis region, home to obviously great recreational cannabis in 3 locations. But yes, sir, we have somebody which is, a friend of yours, you mentioned him earlier, is also in the same region as the defending champion and beard champion, or the beard winning restaurant in Annette. So do you think your friends from King of Wings and Snipe have a fighter's chance in that region? What do we see coming out of that one?
I mean, King of Wings and Snipe they're goats at this point in my mind. Those burgers, Jesus Christ. I'm like, my mouth is watering just even talking about this right now. I'm like, oh crap. Annette, it's beautiful. And what they do there, I mean, between brunch to dinner is an incredible meal. I think it represents the region. There's a ton of creativity going on in there, but absolutely. I mean, come on, you've got these beautiful burgers with like a lace around them that reminds me of what my grandmother used to put under the plates when we used to eat dinner at her house. It's like absolutely
those little skirts.
Yes, truthfully, like a lace skirt. That would be my drag. That would probably be my drag name is Beef Lace Skirt. That's her to first. But I absolutely think that there's a chance there, and that region, Cali's has got some bangers in there. Safta, I mentioned earlier, Pit Fiend Barbecue, which those guys are the level of creativity that they're putting into their food. I mean, they're doing everything in different regions and different like cultural aspects. It's incredible. I love it. So I'm super excited to see some of these Cinderella stories maybe make their way to the final brackets. Look at me using sports metaphors. My God,
I'm so proud of you. I don't even know what to do with my hands. Okay, so we have two more regions. You've actually painted a gorgeous picture of how the Mile High Life bracket will break down with some of those, heavy hitters. Now we're going to take you up to the Northeast region, aka the Mr. B's Wine and Spirits. We mentioned 3 locations for Cali's. Mr. B's has 3 locations where you can load up on natural wine, great cocktails, including some of our favorite bourbons around the area. This is where last year, some folks say, including Chef Caroline from Annette, was like Hop Alley was an absolute unit running through the competition. And so here we see them again, a heavy favorite coming out of the Asian, genre subset, and the 1 seed out of the Mr. B section. Do you see anybody that could wreck them or cause a little problem for them?
That is a really good question. I would say kind of, in that same category in the Mr. B's bracket, you've got some real big ones. Beckon, I would say, is maybe like on the higher, you've got a Beckon and a Wolf's Tailor there, which are just beautiful meals. They might break the bank a little bit, but every now and then it's going to be worth it. So
it's a perfect splurge for locations, but maybe not everybody has had it. So it may lose on the approachability of, totally agree. I can't vote for something I haven't had. So you got to play that social media and have you actually experience the food. It's a fine line.
It is. You're right. And then you've got someone like a Faux King Rapidos, who I think, are much more around the city. A lot of people who I know around here have got to try their food, have got to eat their food. If you were lucky enough to go to the Stoned Appetit dinner where they did the food there, that was
good plug, Alex.
Meal. Oh, are you kidding me, man? Those dinners are like the best nights of my life. They're absolutely incredible. They're so much fun. See me in the corner, posted up with the accordion bong. That's
it's a vibe.
It is a total vibe, and you need to go. But yeah, I mean, that meal was so incredible. They're also really hospitable dudes. I got to meet them at the Denver Food and Wine Food Truck Throwdown, and they turned it out. It was incredible. The pork belly was crisp. The buns were perfectly steamed. So I think that there's a big chance there. And then you've got Yacht Club, man. Come on. Yacht Club, the dark horse with the hot dogs. Like, I am so excited to see what goes down in this bracket. It's going to be, to use another sports metaphor, a knockout. Can I say that? Yeah.
That is. And I think you're a boxing fan as well.
I think all of a sudden I am. Yes. Yeah. I might bite somebody's ear off later today just to stay.
Another reference. I mean, we got to get Michael B. Jordan on the podcast now. Creed 3's coming out soon.
I will definitely shave and shower for that one. If that's the case. Yeah.
I told Alex before the episode we were going to have to hire him because he's just too great on camera. He's looking tan as shit today.
Oh, you flatter me, Kip. Please, I'm just trying to keep up with you.
Oh, stop it. We can do this all day. I love it. Okay. So, you mentioned a couple of the, another Asian restaurant may be able to compete, but I love how you mentioned with Hop Alley, but I love how you mentioned they're a little bit more around the city. Totally. And so we try to incorporate a whole trucks and pop-ups or subset or demographic or whatever, so we have that representation going through. So a lot of those that are mobile and a little bit more approachable have a really good punchers or fighters chance. I like where your head's at.
I completely agree. And I mean, these dudes are working so hard. I shouldn't even just say dudes, these people, I mean, men, women, everybody in between are crushing it out there in these trucks. And that is some hard work too. So props to them for turning out incredible level food in literally the back of a truck.
I mean, they're slaying it, and they have a new location that will be opening up soon, probably about the same time as the bracket is ending, maybe a little bit after. So y'all get excited. They're actually going to be working with some of the folks in the community as kind of like a team kitchen. So it's going to be gnarly.
That's so exciting.
Speaking of building out a kitchen in a restaurant, let's dive into Bar Green Ellingson's region. If y'all don't know Bar Green Ellingson and you're listening to this, they are a company. If you're opening up a kitchen, these are the people you need to be working with. Oftentimes people may go for the cheaper option when they're opening their first restaurant, but they know when they open their second one to bring in the true professionals with the best equipment. And that's Bar Green Ellingson. That was a great ad read.
I was going to say, what a great transition too, by the way. Man, somebody's been doing this for a minute, you know.
This is my second rodeo. So this one I thought was one of our heaviest regions, Alex.
I agree.
Tavernetta off the top. I think they came in with the fine dining 1 seed. Obviously, a net would have come out of that, but they got the bye because of last year's champions.
Yep.
So Tavernetta's holding up that 1 seed, but this is a murderer's row. I mean, Restaurant Olivier in a play-in game. The Bakery 4 community has a huge following on social media. If Sean and the team get, entrenched in the action, they could upset. And then you have Kike's Red Tacos, obviously the fan favorite in the Batteria taco scene here. And that's just the top half.
I was about to say, you haven't even gotten to the bottom half, which are like
with the best pizza in the city.
Truthfully, some of those
Little Arthur's, the best pop-up.
Man, oh my God. Now I have to say, in this bracket, I did grow up in Philadelphia, so I'm a little Arthur's devotee, I guess you should say. But what AJ's doing is incredible. I often tell people they're the best cheesesteaks I've had outside of Philadelphia. So that matchup, we've got Little Arthur's going up against Blue Pan. Come on.
Is that not a perfect Stone Appetit matchup in the second round?
That is truthfully, if you've ever heard of Sophie's Choice before in your life, man, that is it. I cannot, this is going to be so hard. I honestly think that's just going to be one where I just close my eyes and click. It's going to be too hard. But yeah, between that, you've got also representation from the Source building in there. You've got Bolota, you've got Tamaki Den, 2 restaurants, I think, which are absolutely hitting top tier in what they do. It's amazing. And then you've got Chook Chicken, which is right down the street from my house, which is so good, man. Their program is super solid. They're absolutely what you're getting every time you go in there. And I've never been disappointed. So between that and the au jus shots at Pony Up, honestly, kind of give them a +1 for me. If anybody out there has never had these au jus shots, I like to call them like Pickleback's classier cousin. It's a warm au jus that just goes down super smooth. Oh man, it's so good.
I love that reference. That's a great one for the family folk at home. That is a great reference.
Yes.
And I didn't even realize that we should call this the Source region and you include Smoke in there.
That's right. Smoke as well.
I guess it wasn't like we did it. There was like a numbered system. So it wasn't like intentional, but it was based on.
You're just looking for them to have like a backyard brawl at the Source building. That's kind of what it's coming down to.
Last year, we, by having everybody compete by region, Hop Alley and Uncle found themselves duking it out in the second and third round. So, it's very fickle. It's a beast, but at the same time, you're going to run into a couple great restaurants everywhere you turn. And that's a testament to the great chefs and restaurateurs in our community.
It's the truth. We love a sibling rivalry. It's always good to see who's going to come out on top. And like we said earlier, the chefs and restaurants that are represented in this bracket are so diverse. They're all over the map, but every single one is a banger. I'm looking at this list again and I'm like, all right, what am I doing on Monday? Cool. Free night. Maybe it's Redeemer. Maybe it's just going through your head. It's impossible to pick a bad one here, man.
No, and you couldn't be more correct. Obviously the list doesn't even tell all the great restaurants that we love in the community, but what it does showcase is that there is a litany of options for you, no matter what you may be craving, whatever your price point may be. And we're always here for the listeners and for our followers on social media. We'd be happy to help put you on something or give you the list of the restaurants if you need the committee's 8 favorite bakeries and baked goods spots.
It's the truth. And here's my non-asked for plug. When I first moved to Denver, I really didn't know, like I said, I didn't know much about the food scene at all. Stoned Appetit, the account, is what turned me on to the best places in Denver. Without that account, I would not have had half of the good meals that I've had here. I definitely wouldn't have had any of the great meals I've had in Denver. So absolute kudos and props to what you guys do, because it's truly sensational. Between the pod, the Instagram page, and everything in between, you guys are doing Denver a huge service.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's, it's because of great people like you and the other members of the committee, but it's the community. These folks that follow along are people that go out and spend their hard-earned money on these restaurants. And so I'm not going to try to put you on something that I wouldn't want to put, spend my paycheck on, and make sure that we're not just supporting some large corporation that's not, the Broncos owners or whatever. So, I think we have a long month ahead of us, Alex.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. A long, delicious month.
It's going to be wonderful. But let's say that if you could see the future, who do you have duking it out on the first Monday of April going into the finale or the final?
Such a good question. I mean, honestly, coming out of last year, the backing that Hop Alley had is pretty incredible, and they were looking for that trophy pretty hard too. So I would not be surprised if Hop Alley got those people behind them. They got those votes in there. I'm pretty positive we're going to see them at least in like a Final Four moment right there. I think also, if we're talking about upsets, we've got some really good people. Yuan Wonton. At this point, they're not even like an upset. So James Beard nominee, but I could totally see them coming up against some of these other big fine dining monsters and completely crushing it. Like we said, I think a lot more people might have had that food, might have had the chance to experience it too. Also, another Stoned Appetit dinner with Yuan Wonton, which crushed. So yeah, I would be surprised to see them kind of make it really, really far. I think there's a ton of really good Asian representation in this bracket this year. And that's what I'm honestly maybe more excited about than anything else. I do have a soft spot in my heart for Little Arthur's and Misfit, but we're going to see what happens, man. I'm whoever it is, I'm rooting for him all the way.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't play favorites, but looking at this, it's a murderer's row. I mean, I think Spontino could make some noise, but the problem is, does everybody know about them? If you don't, it's wonderful food over in the Highlands area. Chris mentioned it last week. La Diabla, they've kind of blasted on the scene. Chef Jose over there has also got El Borrero Negro, which didn't make the cut. I had it in my open fire region, but it didn't have the PAL or enough points to get into the top 8. I think they could make some noise as well. I think we're going to have some upsets. I think we're going to see some craziness. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like Bakery 4 or Blue Pan came out of the bar green, because it is a lot of stoner eats and people love pizza and bread. But it's going to be a wild month.
I am so here for it. I've got foam fingers on each hand, just ready to root on these guys. I mean, this is so much fun. This is the March Madness that I want to play. This is where I really feel like this is the sweet spot,
That's exactly what we want. Just a fun, approachable. Do you like food? Do you like eating in your, neighborhood or community? We've compiled a 64 competition that has zero basis on anything. It's just an Instagram poll, and that winner. Yeah, it's the most brutal.
It's so great, man. No, this is amazing. All the work that went into this and everything, all the discussions, and it's awesome. I'm so excited for everybody to see the bracket and really get the community talking.
Man, it's going to be a vibe, and I'm sure we'll get some funny emails or messages of like, what the fuck, my favorite spot got snubbed. But at the same time, it was like you said, it was fun being able to include friends in the community to help us, spread our wings, because Chris and I maybe haven't eaten at all of these. And I can say that for certain. There are probably one or two on here that I haven't had in a long time and would have, totally omitted, but like an El Taco de Mexico, that's great representation of badass food that I would never have thought of. And so I'm glad to see them in there. And, Go Ed Zur is great. Like,
oh my God, that chef's
Dutch food.
Unbelievable.
You
That,
know, like-
yeah, the Sunday jazz ramen nights there, that place
Right?
is so much fun.
So
Yeah.
it's good. And then obviously, like you said, Yacht Club. It's literally my favorite, one of my favorite wine bars. And then I didn't even think about voting for them because I just didn't think about hot dogs.
You're
But
right.
they had 3 people in the committee put them in their stoner eats. So they made it through like with ease. And so I think we're going to see some upsets, and I wouldn't be surprised. And Jeremy said it earlier, and he made a good point. The Easy Vegan has been working that California coast.
Dude, that I have
They
heard.
can make some big noise. They can
It's
make some
so
big noise the longer
true.
they're on TV. So
It's
they
true.
can make a run and win the Mr. B's region.
I would not be surprised about that. They've
No,
got a good social following too.
Their food is fucking bangers, but
Yeah.
even like if you haven't had it, they have this huge social following. But that, that brings into consideration your Little Arthur's and your Bakery Fours. And it's like
It's true.
social media versus like, have you had this food? And then you click on their pages and you're like, fuck, I haven't had this. But look at that sandwich.
Just gets in the car and drives. Exactly.
I know, right?
It is.
That's
It's like social media versus word of mouth. But that's the really fun part about this competition is you've got the grassroots, you've got everybody. Yeah. So I'm all the fans better come out in droves for this, man. If one of your favorites are on this list, you got to vote for them.
Yeah, and we've got a bunch of rookies this year, that'll be showing up in the sweets region, as well as in just like Dime Store Deli. What a call.
Dime Store Deli, come on, those wraps. They're iconic. They're absolutely iconic.
It's just going to be great. And I'm already salivating. I'm stoned and I'm salivating. It's a damn near impossible feat. But talking about all these restaurants, it feels like we all win because they're in our community. So no matter who takes home the trophy at the end of the year, I think everybody wins.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That is absolutely true. The trophy might be the badge of honor, but everybody else deserves at least a best in show,
Exactly. We need to get more ribbons. Like
that's it. Let's bring
team.
ribbons back, Yeah.
I'm going to go Amazon 50 of those. As I sit here and tell people to shop local, go to Amazon. I don't think you can find just a box.
I was going to say, I have
like,
yet to find a ribbon manufacturer here on Colfax. So when I do, I'll hit you up. Yeah.
Yes, please do. I mean, if anyway, it would have been Colfax. But
I was gonna say, yeah.
Alex, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come talk with us about the bracket. Well, we're excited to see how it goes, and we're going to have you back on once we get closer to the finals to recap episodes and join us in the studio.
I cannot wait. It is truly my pleasure to be here. I love what you all do. I mean, this is so much fun. I'm so excited to see what goes down, and Lord knows I will be voting as much as humanly possible.
Hell yeah. Well, y'all get ready. Voting starts tomorrow with the 6 play-in games. That's 12 restaurants going at it. I almost said teams. We've gone full sports, Alex.
I love this. I love it. I should have a jersey on right now. I don't own a jersey, but if
I'm going to bring you one. Yeah.
God bless you. I might have like 18 Real Housewives t-shirts, but I should own at least one jersey. It's like,
well, you did go to BravoCon, so
that is true. That's a separate podcast altogether.
We'll do it on the recap from March Madness.
Yes.
We'll also recap BravoCon and all Alex's friends on television.
I love it, Kip. You are the absolute man. Thank you so much for having me. This has been such a pleasure, dude.
Talk to you soon, brother. Thanks so much.
You got it, man. Take care.